there. How are you doing?
There's people that like to do things the safe way, and that's just never been part of my vocabulary.
Time to try, still I try. No rest for crowd stops in my mind. On my own, here we go.
I don't know, I like to make my own path. But I never thought I'd end up, doing Broadway.
I walk this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams, where the city sleeps and I'm the only one, and I walk alone. I walk alone.
Billy Joe's a punk rocker from the East Bay, working class kid.
It's just me.
I'm from Rockville, Maryland, upper middle class family and theater geek. We have nothing in common. There's absolutely no reason why this should work.
Again, you can be as cocky as you want to.
Broadway is such a foreign thing to me.
This is crazy.
Tonight, Billy Joe Armstrong will be making his professional theater debut and his Broadway debut at one time.
The role of St. Jimmy, usually played by Tony Vincent, will be played by Billy Joe Armstrong.
I can't act, I can't dance. Compared to a lot of these people, I can't even sing. I was thinking to myself, what the fuck are you doing here?
Don't wanna be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new me.
American Idiot, the album, exploded on the scene in those really hideous post-9/11 years.
That's all blaming on my fuck America.
It was a fierce stance about the state of America.
As a band, we really wanted to make some kind of concept record, drawing from like Tommy to Sgt. Pepper. Mike Dirnt kind of started it off, and then we all just sort of joined in, and we were all like, this could be really great.
Or maybe I'm the faggot America.
To me, bringing American Idiot to Broadway seemed like a really great idea.
I'm open to big, crazy ideas, but, this album is my baby. So I want to make sure nobody fucks it up.
Calling out to idiot America. Want to run your kind of tension. Across the heavy admission. Everything is meant to be okay. Long centuries of tomorrow. We're not the ones who live to follow. But let's take us to what you
I have never put so much emotion into any record like I have into every song that's on American Idiot.
Summer has come and passed.
There are times where I feel like I get choked up, and I feel like it's hard to sing the next line because everything comes from some emotional place that I've experienced in my life, and it resurfaces every time I play those songs.
Like my fathers come to pass, 7 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September ends.
It was the first time I ever wrote about like my father dying. So when I moved out, I was 17, and when I started living in warehouses, my dad died when I was 10. So I said 7 years as if it was 7 years later.
Right.
And then you go to at the end, at the last verse, it says 20 years.
Right.
So it's an adult reminiscing about being a young adult.
As my memory rests, but never forgets what I lost. Wake me up when September ends.
And it just happened to be September? Is that when it was?
Yeah, he passed away in September.
Got it.
And it's like the whole thing is kind of like that. It's like the worst month of the year, you know. I mean, for some weird reason, some strange, like coincidence. I mean, whether it's like my parent dying or
To me, it was a 9/11 kind of thing. You know, that's what resonated for me.
Here's the deal. When we started really kicking around this idea, we did not know if Green Day would give us permission to do the production. My heart was in my throat a little bit because I thought, what if this doesn't work for them?
When people think of Broadway, they think of everyone's singing and dancing and life is swell and, you know, the Rockettes or something like that.
What we're going to try and do today is map out the harder stuff. So we can
My
get
fear
used
was
to
that it was just going to be sort of absurd and not relatable and corny.
I'm the son of raging love. The Jesus of suburbia and the Bible of none of the above on a steady diet of.
At the start of the show, I lead my friends into this catharsis of there's got to be something else out there. This just can't be all there is to this town that is just sucking us dry.
Note to self. Get me the fuck out of Turd Town. Let's start a war, shall we?
American Idiot, I would say 90% is sort of based on my life. I just wanted to get the hell out of my town. I wanted to leave with reckless abandon. I didn't care where I ended up, as long as I saw as much as humanly possible. It had nothing to do with where I came from. That's what I was looking for.
On holiday.
And then break. And we'll just figure out who calls that and who makes the break.
In terms of the way that we plan to tell our story in American Idiot, the closest thing would be opera.
I beg to dream.
In opera, you're telling your story through the physical actions and character behavior that accompanies the singing.
This is the dawning of the rest of our lives. You're in the city now, so it's like this massive exultation that you finally arrived here. So sing the shh out of it, and then your body should be like just wild and mad.
Sing how to the president, Gabriel. Bombs the world used to punishment. Pulverize the Eiffel Towers. We'll criticize your government.
We put the stuff together, and you never really knew if Green Day would dig what we were going to do with their material.
It's not a word that's meant for me.
It was terrifying and incredibly important to get Billy Joe's okay on it. But we didn't see him again for quite a while because they were touring in Europe.
Starry nights, city lights coming down over me.
We started Green Day when I was about 15 years old.
coming from Berkeley, we were always exposed to different politics where people were really confrontational. So around 2003, because of what was happening in the administration, what was going on in the war in Iraq, we started to take more of a personal stance. I remember going on this walk and then thinking, I'm the son of rage and love, Jesus of suburbia. Those two lines right there for me were, oh my God, here we go. Those two lines came out, and they excited me and scared the living piss out of me at the same time.
Story of my life. The Jesus of suburbia is a lie. And screaming.
I remember cranking that record as loud as it would go and really just feeling understood. For me, coming of age in post 9/11 United States, there was this sense of sadness and this disillusionment. Really take the time to sit with the lyrics. They're wonderfully poetic.
Billy is writing about the world of suburbia and convenience stores and those things that you grew up with and that you hate so much.
I've never seen a cast connect to their characters in such a profound way.
These characters are sort of us, extensions of us.
I've gone through those periods of time where I've just felt this desperate longing to get out into a bigger world than this.
You just feel like you're just sinking into quicksand.
Still all on the fallen tide. Still alcohol and cigarettes and Mary Jane. Taking me in shame. Doing someone else's cocaine. And something with me. This is how I'm supposed to be. You and everybody.
Whether it has to do with romance or with politics, I'm just trying to figure things out. A theme of mine is just kind of, sort of just being, lost in chaos.
When I came on board, the question was, how do we take this iconic album that primarily is sung by one person and create characters and stories for a number of different people? So after the... She modulates right into it.
I love your falsetto.
Me and Barry Gibb. For example, the song Last Night on Earth is going to be this moment where Johnny and what's-her-name are shooting up on drugs in a very romantic way. So already that image of romantically getting high was in my head, and I thought, well, how can we make this a trippy love ballad? Like lines that are going... And I was on the train one day and I started thinking about it, and then I just thought, how about a wall of sound, beautiful vocal arrangement, kind of in the style of the Beach Boys, these beautiful falsetto harmonies, just raining down on them.
I text the postcard sent to you.
And I remember saying to Michael, I said, this is kind of crazy, and it's going to take a while for them to learn, but I promise you, if it sounds anything like my head, it's going to be worth it.
You take turns singing, right? We put the stuff together, and today we have to show Green Day.
Baritones, you guys can really ease up on the volume there.
I walked from miles till I found you.
With Last Night on Earth, they won't know what song it is when we start. It doesn't have any of the signature chords or instrumentation. So when Declan starts singing, I text a postcard sent to you, did it go through? I think they're gonna be like, oh my God, that's the song?
Hey, Michael?
We have to get the go-ahead from Green Day, or the show is over. They're one of the biggest rock bands on the planet. They're not going to sign a piece of paper that says, oh yeah, you know, you seem like a good guy and I liked your play, so here, go do whatever you want. They need to make sure it's something that they can really get behind.
This one, this is you'll know this song when you hear it.
Okay.
I text a postcard sent to you, did it go through? Sending all my love to you. You are the moonlight of my life every night, giving all my love to you. My beating heart belongs to you. I walked from miles till I found you. I'm here to honor you.
Oh my God, that was insane. Oh my God, that was fucking sick. That was so good.
That was incredible. That was so good.
I was sitting next to Billy Joe and I was so nervous. And at the end of it, he just grabbed my leg and squeezed and told me how beautiful he thought it was. So I was happy on two fronts. We're telling our story, and as importantly, the band is happy.
Man, I mean, it's like, you know, I was floored.
Break it up and different people would.
As soon as I was able to hear it that way, I was completely into it. I could visualize it. I was like, oh, this can work.
I didn't want to like do it
Yeah,
without
play with it, and then you know, I kind of do it like how I did on the record, which has nothing to do with the way you guys are going to do it whatsoever. But I mean, that'd be cool.
The band not only gave us permission to do the show, they've encouraged us with great enthusiasm and with a kind of appetite to hear their songs in a really different way.
Say, hey! Hear the sound of the falling rain coming down like an Armageddon flame. Pushing the ones who died without a name. I hear the dogs shouting out of key to a hymn called faith and misery. Bleed
We're just trying to create a vessel for this event to happen inside of, and to create as much potential for all kinds of action to happen, whether it's the video action or the physical action. So I made a very large room, which ultimately became a room of 40-foot walls. The scene shop has layered in all the things that we printed digitally. And now that we're here in the space, what I want to try to do is make it feel like a real place. And I always like to say, like, giving it its soul. This one is like Will's room, so this is going to get like full of CDs. What I'm starting to do is to put things in the nooks and crannies where the actors will kind of see them as they're living here, things that the audience will never see, but that the actors will kind of discover as they're here and working.
All right, so now why don't we move this square?
We have a team of designers who are all after the same vision.
Too clean.
Yeah, just a little clean.
To the medical.
The challenge is to create an image of chaos on stage.
It's like writing a simple song. You know, Eleanor Rigby is a simple song, but doesn't mean that you can fucking do it. You know, there's, you know, and what Christine Jones does with a set is almost the same thing. It's able to take you to all these different places, but what you're looking at is a warehouse full of flyers.
We'll do this one more time from the same place.
I walk this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams, where the city sleeps and I'm the only one, and I walk alone.
American Idiot is based on my life and old friendships. The story's all about the character Jesus of Suburbia wanting to figure things out and step up and you know, stand for something that he believes in. It's about learning the hard lessons.
Sometimes I wish someone out there will find me, but till then I walk alone.
If you study musicals, they talk to you about I Want songs, that song at the top of the show where a character expresses their wants for the evening. So in terms of this, I wanted to think about, well, where is that moment?
I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can say.
Boulevard of Broken Dreams, just kind of Johnny's I Want song. We get into his character.
I'm walking down the line that divides me somewhere in my mind, on the borderline of the edge of where I walk alone.
Your face should be out for the eye, but it could be right on it. You know. Okay, cool.
I play a character called, what's her name? And what's her name is a woman who Johnny meets when he's in the city. They have an immediate, exciting and sparky energy with each other.
That's good, isn't it?
Johnny primarily sings Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but we found a way to bring What's Her Name into that song, so we established the romance at that point.
Awesome, thank you.
There's this beautiful melodic line that the guitars play in the turnaround between chorus and verse. And it's the da-na, 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 which I find so evocative. And I actually took that and I put it in the strings at the beginning of the song because I wanted to really set up that motif. Because later on, she sings it in the last chorus. So we feel their worlds intertwined a little bit. Did it feel a hair too fast just now? Karma, are you clicked on that?
Oh, we can bring the tempo back if you want a little bit.
Maybe like 2? What are you clicked at? Can we try 157? I always wanted like some form of community.
So if we could just do that each time.
To have that in the rock world is rare.
Oh, okay, yeah, play all down strokes just on that. In order to... You have a Facebook?
Yeah.
I've just kind of seen that world for the first time.
It's terrifying.
It is weird, man.
Billy Joe's so famous, and he is so careful to protect his family from so many people who want a piece of him.
I'm lucky to have a cell phone right now.
That he's really carved out a very private life for himself and his family. And you can't have that and be involved in a show. The minute you're in a show, you are part of that extended family. For good or bad. For both, right?
Billy, is that right? He's right.
Bon appetit.
I haven't experienced that sort of camaraderie, you know, with people and making friends like that in a long time.
Everyone was on the same level.
Like there was one night,
People started picking things up and jamming, and then all of a sudden we started playing. And then Adrian had the photo booth also. And so there was bonding going on, pretty wild bonding going on in that booth. I think it just grew from there.
She's an extraordinary girl in an ordinary world, and she can't seem to get away.
Any audience can only observe a quarter of the playing space, and there's 3/4 from their heads that go up to the top. I wanted to make sure that that was part of our playing space and not to kind of rule that area out. Hop back is on the 2 of the 4th bar.
She's all alone again. The wife and matches from her eyes.
I thought it was going to be easier. I was like, oh, I can do this. This is easy. This is nothing, but I don't know. It's difficult because not only am I flying, but I'm also singing. But it's my job to show comfort so we can deliver the story. Because it's not about the flying, it's about the story.
Because all of the material has already been written and is being sung, we can't change what they're saying.
Johnny's walking through New York.
So we had to figure out how to plot out a real story and make them three-dimensional characters.
Johnny is the vulnerable one that gets never had a family.
Right.
Michael Mayer saw something in what I do that no one has ever really been able to make sense of. Not in the rock world.
What's her name? I always wished What's her name had a name.
And so I just trusted him. I knew what he was doing was cool.
We kept working to make the story clear through the choreography. Stephen had an idea that the chorus in When September Ends would do a kind of ballistic searching for slumber almost under the stage floor, and it was thrilling to watch. But when we put it all together, it became very clear that it was almost too much. And it was taking away from the simplicity of the story of these three guys.
Yeah, I think I wanted to put all the whistles and bells on it, and actually when we watch the whole thing, there's literally a moment that described everything. And as long as we held on to that moment right in front of us, the nugget of the sequence, everything else was able to fall away. We've ended up with a version that's got more stillness than anything else, which is the last thing I thought it would have. But working on it over the weeks, then looking at the whole show, it's one of the pieces that I'm most excited about.
She puts her makeup on like graffiti on the walls of the heartland. She's got a little book of conspiracies right in her hand. She is paranoid, endangered species headed into extinction. She is one of a kind, well, she's the last of the American girls. She's a rebel.
When you're doing a new show, it's really important that you try it out somewhere before you bring it to New York.
Who do you have come in tonight?
I got my mom and my sister.
What you want to do is give yourself an opportunity to put a show on its feet with full production values and learn what you can. You want to make sure it's the cast that you want. You want to work the kinks out.
Oh, shit, my nails are dry.
And you want to try it out in front of an audience.
I usually am angry when the audience comes for the first time. I'm like, you know, I've been having a great time here in rehearsal, and now you're going to come with all your opinions. So I'm like, fuck, the audience is coming.
Sound bright? 876545678.
But I don't feel that way at all. I just can't wait to just to get them there and see what happens.
3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You know, and I have no idea what's going to happen or what it's going to be like. And so that's incredibly thrilling. So just bring it. Come on. Fuckers. What?
Don't wanna be an American idiot.
Go. Lights 10. Go. Lights 11. Go.
By opening night at the Berkeley Repertory Theater, the story that we had was three guys in a shitty little suburb decide that they're gonna get out.
So I lead my friends into a farewell to our little town.
Everyone's so full of shit. Born and raised by hypocrites. Hearts recycled but never saved. From the cradle to the grave. We are the kids of war and peace. From Anaheim to the Middle East. We are the stories and disciples of the Jesus of Suburbia.
We're all getting ready to leave.
Will's girlfriend is pregnant.
I'm like, fuck.
She's like, oops, we have this problem.
I don't feel any shame. I won't apologize. When there ain't nowhere you can go.
So I end up having to stay at home.
When you've been victimized. Tales from another broken.
Honey gets to go, but Will is trapped in his suburban wasteland.
We turn the scaffolding into a bus and we tip it over
and head off to the big city.
Johnny takes to the city like a troubadour. He meets up with St. Jimmy.
St. Jimmy is basically everything Johnny kind of wishes he was.
My name is Jimmy, and you better not wear it out. Super psycho metal that your mama talked about. King of the 45th, I'm here to represent the needle in the vein of the establishment.
He's this rush of adrenaline, whether it's through drugs or sex.
When Johnny meets what's-her-name, their relationship is just wild and sexual.
I text a postcard sent to you. Did it go through? Sending all my love to you.
But then St. Jimmy starts to ruin him through drugs.
Meanwhile, Tunney has gone down to Times Square and enlisted. He gets shipped off to the Middle East, and he loses a leg in battle.
Michael really stuck to the heart of the album. And then he created new characters. I find all of those characters very relatable. Those people remind me of my friends, and they remind me of myself.
At the end of the show, Johnny has gotten off drugs and comes home clean and sober. Tunney has come back without a leg, but with a loving girlfriend. And Will finally tries to initiate a relationship with his ex-girlfriend and their child.
And in the darkest night, if my memory serves me right, I'll never turn back time. Forgetting you, but not the time.
It's not Norman Rockwell. This is a portrait of America today.
They knocked it out of the park, as they say. It was amazing.
We've had a month and a half of rehearsals for this, so we were really ready for tonight. But having a crowd that was on board with us like that is a phenomenal feeling.
It's always a little bit like, please like it. And then part of you is like, you know what? We're making a piece of art. We're putting it out there to the world. We love it. If we believe in it, that's what matters.
I'm hoping the future is Broadway, which is something I've never touched. I've never been on Broadway before, so this would be huge.
I felt sort of validated as a songwriter. My melodies felt validated. You know, people don't really talk about these things like that in the rock world so much that, it's either a good song or it's a bad song, or it's, does it rock? Is there a riff? Where's the hook? Where's the blah, 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 blah?
Here we go.
When Tom Kitt put his spin on it, we were able to sort of create sort of a dialogue I think I've been waiting to have my entire life.
So after we yanked Billy Joe into our world, he turns around and invites us into the world of Green Day.
The cast was in Berkeley doing the show every single day and playing 21 Guns every day. We were on tour playing 21 Guns at the same time. So we said, well, why don't we just do this thing together? Like let's do a recording.
The challenge with 21 Guns is that it has so many different layers to it. So we had to keep track of how they're supposed to fit when we were recording one at a time.
Do you know what's worth fighting for when it's not worth dying for? Does it take your breath away and you feel yourself suffocating? Does the pain weigh out the pride and you look for a place to hide?
For me, recording and producing it's psychological.
Cool. One more. All right, let's do one more, Rebecca.
You have to wait for the person to get into their comfort zone.
One more.
When you burn down the house at home.
One more.
Did you stand too close to the fire?
Yep, that's it. Do it again.
Like a liar.
And then all of a sudden, she's got a voice that can bring you down to your knees.
Yeah, nice.
Sorry, my heart is beating faster than...
Take a deep breath.
Awesome.
Just relax.
Woo! 121 guns, lay down your arms, give up the fight.
She sounds so good.
Yeah.
21 guns, throw your arms into the sky, you and
Hey, Christina?
Yes?
Just simple, like rhythmically. You
Okay.
and you're sort of holding on the note a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, just go right into it.
Okay, great. Maybe I should stop clenching my fist. I'm like holding on to every note.
That might help too.
That might help, yeah.
when it's time to live and let die, and you can't get another try. Something inside this heart has died. You're in ruins. You're in ruins. 121 guns. Throw up your arms into the sky. You and
That was awesome. Except, can we do one without sunglasses?
I don't think we're there yet, baby.
The new arrangement of 21 Guns made me sort of fall in love with the song. You know, I think some of these versions are better than what we recorded.
She puts her makeup on like graffiti on the walls of the heartland.
When the Grammys asked Green Day to perform at the show, Billie Joe immediately said, well, I want to do it with my cast.
Here they are. It's the Grammy party.
Grammy party's up in Grammy party.
I thought your hair might be down and sort of like that. It was really great to make us a deal so that we could. It's a little too much fabric, though.
Oh!
Yes!
You're a firebird.
Oh my god, this is the Grammy outfit.
When we opened in Berkeley, there was a lot of interest in bringing the show to New York. And so we are at the Grammys, and we find out that we're definitely going to Broadway. So not only do we get to perform with Green Day on the Grammy Awards, we get to actually say that we're going to be on Broadway.
Really, like, yeah, it's crazy.
Show them your talent, buddy. Show them your talent. I don't know if you guys have done a award show thing or anything close to it, but it's like kind of basically playing the cameras more than it is playing the crowd.
Right.
Because everybody's a fucking zombie. Like they're all everyone's nominated, like white knuckling it the whole time. You know, like. So that's one thing we figured out a long time ago.
In the beginning, 3 punks created a rock masterpiece called American Idiot. Their dreams live on, and American Idiot has become a stage musical about to hit Broadway in a big way this March. Here to set off 21 guns together, the cast of American Idiot and Green Day.
Do you know what's worth fighting for when it's not worth dying for? Does it take your breath away and you feel yourself suffocating? Does the pain weigh out the pride and you look for a place to hide? Did someone break your heart inside? You're in ruins. 121 guns, lay down your arms, give up the fight. 121 guns, throw up your arms into the sky. You and I.
When you're at the end of the road and you lost all sense of control and your thoughts have taken their toll, when your mind breaks the spirit of your soul, your faith walks on broken glass, and the hangover doesn't pass. Nothing's ever built to last. You're in ruins. 121 guns, lay down your arms, give up the fight. 121 guns, throw up your arms into the sky. You and I. Did you try to live on your own? When you burned down the house at home, did you stand too close to the fire like a liar looking for forgiveness from a storm?
There's something about a Broadway musical that is magical.
And you can't get another try.
As jaded as we might get in this profession, there's something about hearing the words, "Your show is going to Broadway," that is just an undeniable thrill. We don't know what to call it. It's not an opera, really. And it's definitely not your parents' Broadway musical. So I don't know how it's going to go down.
The thing I was worried about is I wanted to make sure that people had open minds. When you're bringing your family to go see something on Broadway, it's hard to kind of go, now, do I feel like being challenged right now? Or do I want, like, a nice little fairy tale? American Idiot is like, it's a cold reality.
I Skyped with Hoggett this morning. He sends all his love. He's gutted not to be here. He's just gutted. But I described to him basically the adjustments that Lauren and I are making, and he thinks that all sounds great. So gear up. What will be required will be even more than what was required prior.
Here we go.
As soon as the Grammys are over, we are starting up right away. Everything about this day is so fucked. What else is fucked? There's an incredible amount of stress. It's Broadway, and so we really are under the microscope. What we found in Berkeley was that we had a lot to do still to improve the story. As well as the staging and the choreography and the arrangements, casting is a gigantic part of it. Billy and I wanted someone who had a kind of all-American nature, even though the character of Tunny has become very pissed off and aggressive and hostile. Hey, Stark and Johnny, the most important thing for you is that the subtext is motherfucking land of make, but motherfucking leave. Do you know what I mean? Don't worry about the steps, just plug into what that energy is.
We are stories and disciples of the Jesus of suburbia. Land of make believe, and it don't believe in me. Land of make believe, and I don't believe. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. No, I don't care.
It's a trip to see your life experiences being interpreted on stage.
Let's start a war, shall we?
So don't think about when you're here, as you turn round here.
There's Tunny in his naive way.
So that first step is commitment.
And there's Will, the guy who wasn't really quite ready to be a grown-up. You know, I've learned that lesson the hard way.
Give me a long kiss goodnight and everything will be alright.
Can I give you some other things to think about?
Absolutely.
And Johnny, with all of his wanting to stand for something that he believes in,
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway.
and gets blindsided by himself.
Coming at you on the count of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And St. Jimmy is just, he's just a bad motherfucker.
My name is Jimmy and you better not wait out. Suicidal metal that your mama talked about.
St. Jimmy is part of myself.
The needle in the vein of the establishment.
You know, everyone's got their demons, like we're all creatures that have it. It's hard to shake that stuff off.
Billy Joe, just like all of us, has his dark side. The side that's self-destructive, manipulative, charismatic but dangerous to himself and to others.
My name is St. Jimmy, son of a gun. I'm the one that's from the way outside.
There's a parallel between, you know, me going to New York for the show and what happened in American Idiot. But this time, it's almost like a second chance to do it the right way.
Give my regards to Broadway. Give my regards to Broadway and tell them I'll be there ere long. Right?
I'll be there ere long?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh.
We got to look this up.
Yeah, look it up. I love the St. James Theater. It's got such a fantastic feeling when you walk in. There's something grand about it.
Give my regards to Old Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long.
Run up. You have the gorgeous, ornate architecture inside and the decor. And then there's American Idiot. I love that juxtaposition.
We're watching TV and be on tour, and Mike goes, "How do you know this shit?" And I learned it when I was a little kid.
Because here, you know, such a metaphor.
When I was a little kid, from the ages of like 4 and a half until I was about 14, I took like vocal lessons. But I never told any of my friends, like because it was just something that I did, and I was just learning music, and you know, and maybe it wasn't the most masculine thing or whatever in the world.
Why can't they be like we were, perfect in every way? What's the matter with kids today?
My mom would take me around and sing like at convalescent hospitals, and I would sing anything from like Frank Sinatra, Al Jolson, George M. Cohan. It would just be like the stuff that this woman, Mrs. Fiataroni, she would teach me, and I think it just kind of got ingrained in my head.
I wonder if that has had some impact. It must have.
Yeah.
The way that you write songs.
You take a song like Wake Me Up When September Ends, which is the, you know, one of the penultimate moments of the show, one of the penultimate moments of the album, you know, in this progression. Which, you know, is so beautiful. And feels to me like chorus line, What I Did for Love.
Wow, that's a good one.
And then you have this major to minor, which, you know.
Well, it's here to stay, too, does that?
So it is all. I mean, it's melodic and it's major to minor. You know, I mean, it's the.
Yeah.
It comes certainly from this whole tradition.
Well, I think the like album making or the art of it for me is like that it takes you on a ride and the songs speak to each other. Okay, that's a stretch.
I don't know how to explain how Billy Joe and I, who come from such different worlds, managed to have such a fruitful collaboration.
To me, what's so interesting is that it's that Tin Pan Alley stuff.
I think it's because both of us, at our hearts, are entertainers.
It's not just about drugs.
Yeah.
Because here, you know, such a metaphor became that.
In my rock world, things get so competitive that sometimes you get into a mode where people become discouraging. This was just a different feeling. It was almost, you know, I don't want to over-romanticize about it, but everybody was sort of encouraging each other. And, you know, it's New York. It's not some bullshit Hollywood crap, you know. The whole theater thing is really seductive. And it's just inspiring, too.
I left my blood like bullets over Broadway.
Every day I had this disciplined ritual where I would just write about anything. It doesn't matter what it's about. It doesn't have to even make sense.
With broken legs and roses over New York.
I would just write something. It would be 30 seconds. It would be 40 seconds. It would be 2 minutes. I just had this momentum. I'm just like writing songs. And I would do that during the day. And then I would end up going to the show at night. I just felt like a sponge. I just kind of sucked everything up.
So what I'm going to do is look at swapping you guys out. I just want to make sure it doesn't translate as he's the father. Today is our final rehearsal.
Going into the second set.
Nobody's perfect and
We're going to do all of our last little picky notes or try new things for the last time. What would be better is if you were up here-ish.
Ballet things.
From Jimmy Diamond today.
I don't think it should be busy. No. Okay, hold. So Carmel, we're gonna make a small adjustment so it'll be, oh shit, this is my life. Bam, bam, as opposed to a question.
Oh shit, this is my life.
Hold there. Can we have the cast in the house, please? Full cast in the house, please.
The time has come. The show is now yours. So fly with it. We're in spectacular shape. I couldn't be prouder of it. It's such a weird feeling because since the beginning, we've been working and shifting things and finding it. But we found it, and it's fantastic.
Where'd you go? Go, go, go. Jeez. I got a rock and roll band. I got a rock and roll life. I got a rock and roll girlfriend and another ex-wife. I got a kid in New York. I got a kid in the Bay. I haven't drank or smoked nothing in over 22 days. So get off of my case, off of my case, off of my case.
I'm here to welcome you to the Gypsy Robe ceremony for opening night on Broadway of American Idiot! Everyone who's making their Broadway debut tonight, come here to the center of the stage.
The Gypsy Robe tradition began in 1950 when a chorus dancer and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes sent a dressing robe to the Imperial Theater where Call Me Madam was opening with a note proclaiming, the robe had been worn by all the Ziegfeld beauties and would bless their show. The Gypsy Robe is awarded to a member of the chorus who has the most Broadway musical chorus credits. The honored Gypsy puts on the robe, circles the stage 3 times counterclockwise, and the show is blessed. It will be our pleasure to see the Gypsy Robe for American Idiot presented to Andrew.
I always looked at Broadway as being some sort of impossible dream. It is my goal, it is my dream, and I'm living it right now. It feels so good.
These actors, they put so much passion and heart into what they're doing.
I heard Liza Minnelli is coming tonight.
Oh, you pumpkins were just terrific. I loved what you were doing, all that stomping around on stage. It was simply inspired.
Woke up today thinking, okay, it's just another show. It's just another show. But it's not just another show.
It's American Idiot on Broadway, you know?
It was really strange to see Donald Trump. I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? Really?
Green Day is used to the stage, but now they're coming to Broadway. I'm Ann Craig. Coming up, I'm taking you inside their brand new musical, American Idiot. It's showtime.
Do you ever think you'd get here?
I've been working for this for 30 years. So I hoped I would make it.
The application of eyeshadow is a very, very delicate procedure.
We all believe in it so much. But, I've never felt so lucky in my entire life.
You deserve it, man.
Thanks. Thanks. Opening night, baby!
Gunmetal Gray. Excellent. I had to.
I love boys. They're stupid.
Just like I don't know what to expect.
It's kind of helpful to be like, you know, I can handle it. I'm saying this, and now I'm thinking, okay, you're definitely jinxing yourself right now.
And now we're at 15 minutes.
Time to unleash this on you.
1, 2, 3, it's fun time!
Breaking news involving an earthquake that...
This is America. Don't wanna be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media. Hey, can you hear the sound of hysteria? This subliminal mindfuck America.
The reaction was amazing. One hardcore Green Day fan, he's like, oh my God. I go, it's not what you thought it was going to be, was it? And he was like, not at all. And then I heard someone say, I guess this was inspired by a rock band or something like that. I mean, they had no clue what Green Day was. And that was really exciting because it was reaching a whole new audience.
Amazing performances, incredible energy, not like anything else on Broadway.
Our next guest star in the acclaimed new Broadway musical based on the Green Day album of the same name.
From the looks of things tonight, I can tell you this show is going to attract a whole new crowd right here on Broadway.
Okay, here's the deal, and this is the honest-to-God truth. I don't read the reviews. I really don't.
American Idiot is getting phenomenal reviews.
I know that we got some ecstatic notices.
Almost the best thing I've ever seen on Broadway.
And some notices that were carping about this or that. But I will say that the audience response was over the top. It was crazy.
It was just wild. You know, I just all that electricity, that excitement, and just sort of everything felt like it was on fire.
Billy Joe went from being moderately interested to getting more intrigued to becoming passionate about what the whole Broadway vibe was. So by the time I suggested to him that my secret dream was that someday he would play St. Jimmy, he couldn't, I saw a little light behind his eyes, a flicker of excitement. He said, "Oh, really? You think so?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." And the next day he called and said, "Oh my God, are you serious about this? I'm shitting."
My name is St. Jimmy, I'm a son of a gun. I'm the one that's from the weird side now. A teenage assassin executing some fun in the cold of the life of crime now.
The first day I rehearsed, Michael goes, "Oh, there's something I forgot to tell you. This is gonna be really awkward at first." And it was really awkward.
Don't look at the girls until the scream. Just be focused on him. They don't even penetrate your consciousness.
I was really, really nervous about whether I could do it at all.
He didn't want the press to come. He didn't want people to talk about it. It was absolutely hush-hush. Do you mind just for me to see it again? So we'd sneak him into a theater where we would rehearse.
See how cool that looks?
But she does that all in one.
Yeah,
Just stop yourself.
Just today he's doing that.
She's a professional dancer.
Are you guys looking?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
Are you asleep?
I was nervous about acting in general, you know, like the silent moments, the stillness in parts. I'm not used to doing that at all. It's dead silent and your brain's going, you know, stay still. Don't say anything. You know, that part was hard.
He was freaked out. He wouldn't know if he'd be any good.
Imitating me or his rage imitating life. I feel like a civil war, like a knife in the heart. I've got an axe to grind and it is splitting my head open. No friends, no girls. I need both. St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway. Opening for the vine like a thing that I tried. Light of a silhouette, visions of ornament. Coming at you on the count of 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. My name is Jimmy and you better not wait out. Suicide commander at your mama talk about. King of the 40 piece, I'm here to represent the needle in the vein of the establishment. On the pain transcend the denial with an angel face and a dance for suicidal. Cigarettes and rum and a little bagatelle. I am the son of a bitch and Edgar Allan Poe. Raised in the city in the hail of ice. But I'll drop one bit that we've been victimized. On the pain transcend the denial with an angel face and a dance for suicidal. I'll give you something to cry about.
In the old days, coming from sort of an underground scene, there was a lot of bands that you would watch that were your friends' bands and things like that. You know, everyone would sort of feed off each other and have fun, but at the same time be, you know, learning. Once Green Day took off, we started losing that. We were losing friends, which is fine, you know. I mean, it's like, you only need a few, but it just became difficult to sort of find kindred spirits in that way.
Which charity is this for?
When the cast came along, I started to feel it again, and I've always wanted that. I've always been almost naive about it, where I wanted to make those kinds of relationships. And it didn't happen in rock and roll music. It happened in theater. That's the thing that sort of blindsided me.
My name is St. Jimmy, I'm a son of a gun. I'm the one that's run the way outside now. A teenage assassin makes a killing to fun and the clothes of the life of crime now. I really hate to say it, but I'm tough, she says. So shut your mouth before I shoot you down, oh boy. Welcome to the club and give me some blood. I'm the resident leader of the lost and found. It's comedy and tragedy. It's St. Jimmy, and that's my Seems that she disappeared without a trace. Did she ever make
Did I tell you how many times I've been reprimanded for? That was the best.
bad behavior.
I know.
I made a point to burn all of the photographs.
One night I grabbed a bottle of whiskey and then took a sip of it, and I remember you were like, you can't do that.
Right.
You know, it was like note. And I was like, my note was, don't get bottle of whiskey,
Right.
bring it on stage.
Now I wonder what's her name has been.
Then the Naked Cowboy happened, and then everything was off to the races. And then another time, I ran out and grabbed a bunch of Twizzlers, and I threw it at the whole crowd, and they were like, yeah! I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. And then all of a sudden, here comes Tom Holtz walking back, and he was like, he goes, you, there's this thing going on the stage, and, you can't run off of it, because it's really disruptive to what's happening on stage. And I go, so you don't want me to throw Twizzlers at people anymore?